No, they're not showing up. Yes, good evening. This is season 2, episode 11 of the Frontline Black News. I'm your host, Che and Krumah. I'm joined with my other host, Lady Che. And tonight we will be discussing several things. Oh, there's Dwayne. Hey, hey, Dwayne. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Brandy. Hi, Jesse.
I'm going through the intro real quick, and then we're gonna give you the floor. So tonight we're gonna be discussing several things. The first thing is Dwayne Peterson, who's joining us tonight as our guest, versus the city of Denver. The next thing is Tangibles 2022. The next thing after that is Malcolm X Day, second annual Malcolm X Day, that happened today at the Holly Shopping Center here in Park Hill in Denver, Colorado. And the next thing after that is and there was the mayor meet and greet, mayoral candidate meet and greet as well. Sundiata Acoli released from prison. He was a Black Liberation Army activist. He spent almost 50 years of his life in prison, and he just got released. The Texas school mass shooting that happened in Uvalde, Texas, and um, what else? And the last two things are Unhoused Neighbor News and Unhoused Neighbor Sweeps. So we're going to give the floor to Brother Dwayne. Thank you for coming on Frontline Black News, Dwayne. If you want to give us the backstory of what happened, I pulled up your GoFundMe. If you want to go over that, or if you have something else you wanted to go over, let me know so I can share it for the people. But you have the floor now.
Well, what? Thank you for having me. What would you like me to say?
Give people context of what's going on in regards to your case. It's my understanding that you're suing the city and county of Denver for what happened at the beloved community village with Cody Addison and others.
Bobby.
And Bobby.
Oh, right. Well, as the both of you know, I sent you and a couple other, both of you and a few other people, an email stating that I had just spoken to a detective with the Denver Police Department who is following up on an initial 911 call I made to them back in July when I was a resident at Beloved Community Village against Cody Addison Phillips. During that conversation, the initial detective was telling me that one of the reasons he made contact with me was that they flagged my email in one of the emails, and I can't remember to whom it was, but they were concerned that I was that with my interest in buying a firearm, that I might be a danger to myself and others. So to be honest, I was upset with that, and I expressed that to the detective, stating, first of all, I have a right to buy a firearm, and secondly, I've been complaining for months about Cody Addison Phillips, and I haven't had any response. So his response was, well, we're sorry that there's been this delay, and I don't really have an open case with the city, I guess. It's just that my concerns are with the city in relationship to the fact that they fund and support Beloved Community Village. So right now, as I mentioned in another email to both of you, I would like to get legal counsel just to have a consultation to see what are my options. I don't think there's a statute of limitations, but I'd like to.
We're gonna
What
send
I'd like to do is press.
it in the private chat.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna send you a little list in the private chat before you get off the phone, so you'll be able to see it here shortly when we get it through.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, one of the things I would like to do is circumvent and avoid Cole Chandler and CVC. What I'd like to do is just go directly after Cody Addison Phillips and anyone else that I can. But the detective with whom I spoke initially, he stated that the follow-up detective would ask different questions than what I was being asked initially. So he also stated that the date of the incident is an issue, but also my follow-up emails to everyone about continuing to be harassed. He said that those may or may not come into effect as far as being related to menacing and stalking and a hate crime. So right now I'm just waiting to, thanks. Right now I'm just waiting to hear back from this other detective and then call an attorney or an attorney to see where I stand and as far as a case against CVC.
Yeah, what it sounds like is they're just blowing it off like usual, trying to find a reason to stall out. Of course, that's menacing and harassment from on any point in any part of the interaction with you when you had called them when they came down there, you telling them that that Cody and everybody was harassing you. Of course, they just don't want to deal with it because it's all white people. So they're going to go ahead and find a way to not deal with it and just drag it out. And they figure, well, if we don't answer right away, then he'll give up. He'll forget. If they just don't know you that you're tenacious. You don't give up, which is really good. And I personally don't think that it's wrong that you go ahead and keep writing all these emails and whatnot because the way we put it on the revolutionary agenda that it's a necessity. They're going to have to come to some sort of understanding that they can't just keep making you jump through hoops and loops. I mean, if you qualified once, you obviously still are qualified to go into any sort of permanent housing. You know what I mean? They're just bullshitting, and they know that. They know that they are. That I mean, when me and Jesse are at the sweep, we're yelling at Evan, right? Yeah, we're yelling at him like, and why hasn't? And why? Because as it comes to city council, they have refused to let me speak on public comment for now almost 2.5 months. Yeah, I always make the list, but in reality, I never get to speak. Jesse finds other ways to get on there because he does. He speaks on the zoning parts too. When he doesn't get to speak on public council or public comment, I don't speak on the zoning thing because they don't want to hear what I have to say about that. I don't really like all this gentrification and development and shit. But as far as that, they refuse to let me speak, and then when they do, they said that I'm bullying the city council and I'm terrorizing them. So I mean, I think it's good for it builds character. Really, honestly, to just keep continually fuss at them because they're paid. They're not for the people. You're the people. We're the people. They don't do nothing for the benefit of black people in specific. Let alone actual other people like the unhoused. Yet their numbers and math don't make sense. So yeah, I think it's a great thing that you go ahead and get at them and get in their pocket because the plan you made, even when you did your own math, was in alignment to what they allegedly dish out every month or every year for one of those units, and they have vacant ones just sitting there laying empty.
Right. That was a problem when I first moved in because they had built 8 additional new units, but there were no, they built 7 additional new units. And of the 12 existing, there were when I moved in, I think there were 8
Brothers
that
like
were that were vacant.
Brothers like this is brother Dwayne Peterson. He is our guest tonight. And he's going through a little situation here in the city of Denver. So we welcomed him here on our third platform to go ahead and express himself, and so people could actually physically see him. He's been on both mine and Shabaka's, so now he's on ours, so where he could be physically seen, so people could see that this is a real man, a real black man. He's actually going through a real serious situation where racism, little discrimination, ignorance is involved. The police, the city council, the actual community itself, the little houses, the little they call the
Tiny
beloved,
home.
yeah, tiny homes, are actually have been quite a detriment to this gentleman, and so we're gonna continue to just beat the drum so we get something happening. Okay, go
One
ahead.
note.
Yes, go ahead, Dwayne. Dwayne, carry on.
So that was one of the issues moving in is that the 12 original units, I think 6 had been vacant for several months, and those 6 continued to be vacant for another, I want to say 4, 5, 6 months. Um, and that was a contentious aspect because at the time, again, residents were under the assumption that it was self-governing. So they felt that they had a lot of say-so in these vacancies when in actuality they didn't. Um, and as far as the cost goes, I think it's still on the CVC website that states that each of these units are $15,000 when in actuality they cost somewhere around $30,000 to $45,000 a piece. Um, so there's a lot of information out there, as we know, that is false. I just don't understand. I really don't understand why other journalists and other people don't want to talk to me because I was on the inside and I would like to think that they would want to know the truth. But
Right.
as you mentioned, oh, go ahead, Jesse.
I was just gonna
I
point out
have an
that
answer.
they keep saying that it's allegations. These aren't allegations. We've been saying this since day one. I said it when the tiny home village first opened up that it was racist and white supremacy because they were only letting white people in there. And then when we questioned them about it, they said, well, we got 2 black people, Tex and Jemiah at the time. And then, like I said, they both got kicked out because of violent activities uh, toward residents of beloved tiny home village, the first one. Now, the second one, I visited a few times. The experience was real jacked up. The last time I visited beloved community village, It was with my godmother at the time, Marianne, and we did not feel welcomed or uh, really safe when we went to visit the village. I mean, those people standing around, like trying to intimidate us and asking us why we're what we're doing there. And we asked where you were. We're like, we're here to see Dwayne. Where's Dwayne? And oh, we don't know where he is. Oh, he's not here right now, and all that kind of stuff. So,
And it for me, I when I'm down there, I like to creep. I like to creep around at different times. So, my investigation took me to a little something like that. But I actively, like we actively, when I say I, but I go a little harder than but we actively fight white racism and white supremacy. So I have a real ugly mouth. I guess when it comes to that, I curse a lot and I don't play. So they know, I'm creeping around. Somebody asks me where I'm going, I set trip too, So, and then that ends that. And I don't want to say that. I'm trying to be professional right now. I don't want to. I say that because I'm an animal. I'm from the street. You know what I mean? And I don't let these white people um belittle me or try to push me somewhere because all I've experienced my whole life is nothing but derogatory interactions with Caucasians. Okay, and so it's got me on a little bit of a not only alert, but it got me in a defensive mood every time because I automatically see some sort of hurt coming towards me, and so I just want to protect myself. That's just me shielding myself by being just equally more aggressive towards them verbally, and they can get it if they want to, but I don't want to do that. I just try to behave myself. But I like to creep around in the middle of the night because that was when it seemed like a lot of things were going down with you around the nighttime, and I didn't like what I was reading when I read it online. I made sure everybody could see, my personal email, but the correspondence and the documents you sent with it. So I was reading it, and so the people were reading it as well. And I wanted to emphasize that, anytime this happens to me once in a while, right? There was a situation where they surrounded you, right? And I was making, I make little side comments when I read or whatever, but I'm like, I would feel equally, if not more, upset if that happened to me. It happened to me one day when I was coming here. Um, I passed out of water, right? I saw a gentleman by the Walmart and he was sitting on the bricks and he just looked like he needed something to drink. I had an unopened tea. So I drove by and said, hey, hey, you want this? Because it was hot. It was so hot, And I gave it to him and I talked to him for a little bit. I said, yeah, I'm a panther, woo, 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 right? I had my buttons on and everything. I clearly, and just because I'm mobbing around and the way I was traveling, they want to stop and question me. And he gave me like a sister. I felt immediately offended because he's white. We're going to take that as offensive, right? So I was like, yeah, exactly like that. You know what I mean? And so I carry on with the conversation, and three or four of his friends showed up, walked right behind me in a weird way. And they started, jumped out so they could talk to me. And one of them touched me on my leg. I said, hey, bro, you don't touch me. Say, you don't touch me. Back up. I mean, and then I was like, you're not going to, the little conversation drug out. I said, you're not going to make me feel bad for me giving this dude a water because it's hot. And I did it out of the kindness of my heart. And this is why people don't want to fuck with white people because you're so ungrateful. I said, you just want what you want. And you want to talk to whoever you want to talk to, however you want to talk to. And you think you could touch people when it's unacceptable, especially a female. So you don't touch females and you don't touch me. I didn't. That to me is disrespectful. But the way they crowded around me, I said I don't like to be crowded around. I said because when you crowd us, eventually we're gonna feel cornered.
mm-hmm.
Eventually, corner feels fear. Fear turns into rage eventually,
Yeah.
and you're gonna want to fight for your own life. And I could understand it didn't go that far, but it could get to that point because the way they're menacing you. And that's what it was. Whether nobody wants to believe it, I'm reading it and I'm reading it from with my black eyes on, and I'm like, they're menacing him.
Yeah.
They're harassing him. They're intentionally fucking with him. And when you call the police, which I have two questions. When you call the police and they send the report, there's never a conclusion at the end of it. Like it's just empty. It's just like we called, we showed up. That's it. There's no conclusion. Like we talked to old boy. We told him not to be disrespecting him. Told him to leave him alone. Let him go in his house. Anything. There was no conclusions, and I found that to be quite suspect for a person who gets arrested. Who usually gets arrested like once or twice a year. You know what I mean? There's always a conclusion on these police reports, and I was like,
well, there are other. There's probably another 50 plus police reports out there, in which I hope there was a conclusion, because I say that because on a few occasions I would call 911 more often than not on Cody, Addison, Phillips, and the police you can ask if you want an officer to respond. And sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. But then the cases that I did, the officer would show up at my door at Beloved Community Village and tell me what happened. So, but I agree with you, Brandy. In most cases, it's just we showed up and this is what he or she said, and then they just move on. And it's my understanding, and I haven't looked into this either, but different police, you can get different types of police reports, but each of those cost between $15 and $30. So my understanding is that there's another report that they issue that is more detailed, but I'm just not going to spend $30 on 50 reports because I just don't have that inclination.
Just type that in privately. All right. We're gonna be able to help you with that. We're gonna put something in the private chat for you. The other thing, I have two real serious questions though. What do they like? They said that you're there to save money or whatever. What is the qualification? Like, do you have to have a job, or you on there? How do you support it? How do they know you're saving money?
At BCV?
Yes.
Oh, they don't.
So what did they ask you if you had an income or something? Because they make it seem like you're there to save money, and initially it was like a 6-month period, and they were supposed to transition everybody into permanent housing or transitional housing or something like that.
No, that was not my experience. My experience, and I was told by BCV staff that for residents it's indefinite, and you don't have to. A resident need not prove anything other than if they're homeless, which means are they on the street? That's the only qualification. There's no income requirement. They don't do police background checks.
I saw that too with the child molestation, the sexual predators right there in that area. Like, ooh, that list is heavy.
Yeah. So and so yeah, that's completely false.
Well, how long? So they said you could stay there ultimately indefinitely, like permanently.
Well, right, and there are residents there who, as Jesse mentioned, who are there from the beginning, who actually have stated, this is my home. I don't plan on going anywhere else.
Right.
And so, yeah, that.
It's just gotta have to tell them to make sure you put it in there. So
yeah,
for free. So don't worry about that.
So that's not. Yeah, there's no. I mean, they offer quote unquote services, but that's voluntary. It's not mandatory that someone seeks mental health treatment or drug treatment or housing. It's all voluntary, because according to Cole Chandler, what did he say? He said, in essence, um, he doesn't want to upset people who are already traumatized. So
This guy is wonderful. Hey, did you find out where he went? Because we've been wondering like for months. Once he did that last little city council meet where they were asking for more funding. I think it was that it was probably a task force too.
It was some
Something
kind
like
of
that.
Zoom meeting.
It was a Zoom meeting that me and Jesse were watching avidly. Um, he said it was like his last day or whatever, and he just straight up. And we haven't been able to find him or find anything. Like it's almost like he disappeared on purpose, and no one wants to talk about it. And I've been like, well, let's talk about this embezzlement. Let's talk about these misappropriation of funds. Let's talk about this underlining racism. Where's Cole? Cole was the front face of it. You know, so where is he? He's the hype man. He has the audacity to get loud at city council. That's what white people do. When they are getting their ways, you know, at city council, they want to overtalk, so they get a little louder, you know, like that. And he was one of those guys. So I was like, well, where is this punk ass? You know, because we were never been a fan of that man, because we knew from jump there's something very malicious about this man. You know what I mean? Because you could just feel it. I mean, I don't know how anybody else can't feel the malice inside. You know what I mean? When you get up close to him, you can feel it. It's there. You know. I think they're immune.
Well, he was upset because we were questioning from day one where all the funding go for the tiny home villages, because there was all kinds of money that was donated to CVC for the tiny home villages, and when we inquired, me, Jerry, Marianne, others inquired about where that money was, we never got a straight answer. They said, "Oh, well, it's being used to build more tiny homes." At this time, there was only one tiny home village, and that money was not accounted for. And then they built the second one in Gloveville, and then I guess they built a third one on what is that, York and 37th, but that's supposed to be for women and trans people.
Warren Village.
Yeah, I mean, we can't hate on the fact that the ladies and the ones that identify themselves differently, they need a place to live too. You know, we can't take away from that. What we can say this is that with all these that, like, you know, just from that one opening day, they had got a $10,000 donation from a dispensary, just one. I mean, that's just one that we knew about. So with all the donations that they were coming in big like that, and all the money, like it was like millions of dollars they were giving, right?
At least for the safe outdoor camps.
For the they were giving it because they it's all together.
And for the beloved tiny home village.
Where is the money? Because, well, not only that, but the care for y'all. You know, the answers didn't make sense with the math, but the fact that you had to live in squalor, is really a real big problem for us here, because you know we don't need to live amongst rats or fecal matter in anything. That's them, not us.
Right.
You know?
Right. I spoke to. I've been speaking to Jackie Hernandez. She works for the mental health mental health something or other.
Yeah, they're calling it well power now.
Oh, okay. Well,
they updated their brand, Dwayne. They updated their brand.
Oh, right. Well, I've been talking to Jackie Hernandez about services that go through CVC, and is there any accountability? And she emailed me back saying CVC is its own entity. It governs itself. It tells itself, you know, what it sets up its own parameters. So I think that's circumspect as well, because the city funds all these projects too. So to your point, where's the money going? Because that $3.9 million that they received recently, they need to prove that money has been used to house 400 people by the end of this year. My question is, first of all, why does it take so much money to do that? Secondly,
Right.
will they be held accountable if they don't fulfill that goal by the end of the year?
No.
I,
Yeah,
I just
it
I
has
just
to,
don't.
they're not gonna be held
I
accountable.
think CBC needs to be audited, just
Oh
like
yeah,
Well, facts.
PCH needs to be audited.
Facts.
All these service providers need to be audited.
Well, because some of them are all aligned. If you look at all the programs, right, they all have the same common denominators in them. And the same common denominators are the ones that always they'll put a front runner up to ask for more money. And all these programs all have the same two or three common denominators, and they do the same work. If you read them, they do the same work.
Mm-hmm.
well, and
So
I was really quick. The Denver City Auditor, his name is something O'Brien.
him,
Is he is supposedly impartial. So I've been talking to him, and he told me that later this year they are going to be performing an audit, and this was new to me. You both probably know they're going to be performing an audit on
the sweeps.
all homeless shelters, all of the
Program.
housing for the unhoused, and um, so he told me, just he's like, because I've been sending him information, and he says, well, Dwayne, just wait until we get this audit, and we'll see what we find. So
That's what I said too. Like, even when we pray that Jesse gets into office, because that should be the first thing that they need to audit again, and just keep auditing, because I feel like it's not surface. It's like 10 layers below the surface. We're gonna come to the real answers, and then when watch. People will start coming up, isn't it? It's gonna be quiet. It's gonna be old dark 30, and that's when we're closer to the truth of the actual mathematics of it. And when there's corruption, and especially when it comes to us being um, where they profit off of our shames and our um, less fortunate events, they have to be held accountable, meaning put them in jail, like for real. When you commit fraud, people go to jail. When you commit tax evasion, you go to jail. When you're racketeering and money laundering, you go to jail. And when you do wrong to the people, when you're supposed to protect the people and serve the people, you should go to jail.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So I want to answer Brother Zaki's question real quick. He said, what why does it take so much money to fund programs? Well, they have to provide the staff to run these programs, so they have to pay them. They have to pay for some kind of facility to have the programs, to host the programs, and then they have to pay for um, uh, administration and
And the basic needs of the
and the
facility:
basic needs of the
water,
facility.
electricity, plumbing, etc.
So that's why it costs millions of dollars, and they have these contracts that they set up where the contract is for like a year or 2 years or 3 years or however long they want the contract to be for, and that's why it costs so much, Brother Zaki.
Yeah. We feel like you're on the right plan, and I feel like I told Jesse I was gonna write a letter. I'm gonna do a visual letter to the mayor, the current one that we got in the city now, um, because I feel like not only does the deputy mayor ignore us during the sweep when they're trying to get his attention, and I was avidly about it, like, why haven't you housed Dwayne Peterson? Yelling across the parking lot, right? you know um why is it that the mayor gets to say they funded or they've placed 590 some people, but really if you read the article correctly, they say since that last event they only really housed 21 people, so it breaks down to like 388. You know what I mean? So where's this other magical number come from? So I'm asking the hard questions because I don't really care. I really know is that they're wrong, that they're somehow, some way or shape or form. I don't know how to explain it personally, but I feel like they're robbing the people.
Yeah,
And they're cheating the people, and when they did what they're doing to you, it's a injustice
It
towards the
is.
people. You know what I mean? Because you are the people, regardless. You are the people, and what we do with our stuff is we really only, I don't want to say really only, primarily focus on our black family before everyone else. Even though humanity, even though it is a unhoused situations are a humanitarian crisis. I feel that
Right.
we get the ugly end of the stick always first.
Almost.
But
We'll
if you
get the
fix
short end.
us, then everybody else's condition fixes as well. You know, so we primarily focus on us and everybody else.
What I mean, what I don't understand is, to your point, Brandy and Jesse, is there's these open-ended questions about where the money is going,
Mm-hmm.
and no one is providing that information. But when it comes to my experience at BCV, I have emails and police reports and all these communications, but I'm being denied or being ignored. And I just don't understand.
That's how white people do.
That's because you're black.
It's because you're black. That's
If
what
you
it
were
is.
anything other than black, you
They would
wouldn't
have an
be
answer.
being ignored. But they feel that they can ignore us. And my next question is I know you brought all these issues and concerns to Steele and Therese. What did they do about it, or did they do anything about it?
Well, to be honest, I had very little interaction with Steele and Therese. Um, I in the meetings that I did attend, Therese
Creep it up.
was for the most part there in person, and to be honest, um, in my few interactions with Cole, Cole did not get along with Therese. He,
Mm,
he thought that she was aggressive, um, and negative.
mm,
So he told me early on in my tenants residency at BCV that the only reason Therese is on the board with CVC is because the residents want her on board. He doesn't want her as part of CVC.
mm,
So
Idea.
I um I have very little interaction with Therese when I moved into BCV. Um,
mm.
but and with Cole, but I do but oh and I and I had a little interaction with Steele, but I, my first and final interaction with Steele was, and I state this over and over again, was with regards to sanitation. So
Yeah,
Steele, Dorothy Leba, and Cole are in the community house. I'm in the bathrooms cleaning. I'm upset because there's feces all over the place.
yeah.
So I go out and I'm like, "Hey, you guys need to see this." And Steele's response was, and I'm repeating myself, and I hate to sound redundant, but Steele's response was, "Dwayne, you have you have to you have to accept this because
Mm-hmm.
it's part of what's going to happen with this population, and if you can't accept it, you need to find another place to live."
That ain't right.
Why should you
You
have
didn't
to
sign up
accept
for
that
that.
shit, man?
You
Nobody
didn't
lives
sign
like
up for
that.
that when you applied. Because didn't you have to apply to get into the tiny home village?
Everyone has to apply, and the at the time the application was very simple. Like, who are you? Give us a personal testimonial. Are you on the street? And if you check off all those boxes, then you obviously go into a pool, and then the residents and BCV staff decide
If you're gonna
on
fit or not.
who gets in. But that changed. Um, because when the residents found out that BCV was not self-governed, CVC took over those um,
Uh, Possibility.
applications. Yeah, they took over that process, and they completely cut out the residents.
Mm.
So, and getting back to the sanitation part, I mean, I sound redundant, but
You don't.
when I when I stopped cleaning everything, taking out the trash, it
Mhm.
just went back to squalor. I mean,
Oh,
it was disgusting.
So they
well,
made you be the slave inside of a place they're supposed to keep clean. That's what they hire all the staff for.
mhm.
They're supposed to be
Well,
staff.
I lived with them for 5 years. I know how much squalor and filth
yeah,
and
I even had
It's filthy.
two people who heard me at city council one time. So they heard me at Denver City at public comments,
mhm.
and they showed up at BCV, and they were hassled. They told them that they were there to see me, and
Uh-huh.
and BCV staff, there was a there's a back and forth. So they finally came in, and I would happen to be at home, and they were just disgusted by the grounds
Mhm.
alone. Forget in addition to the confrontation they had trying to get into the gate to see me.
That's why
Yeah.
I didn't fuss with the gate. 'Cause I see how they acted. I didn't fuss with the gate. Because I don't I just gotta just tell them, I just take them. I just do. And I didn't fuss with the gate because I was like, nah. Once I start, I can't control myself when I feel angry about these certain situations. So I chose not to. But I saw all that I needed to see, which was what you to look on the outside, explore. And that's what I went did. I went and did that in different times. I went one time at like 3 in the morning. I went another time at like 2 in the afternoon. I went another time at like 8 in the morning. No one knew I was going anywhere. I just went because I feel like if you know where I'm going or you know what I'm up to, then you're gonna stop me when you see me, or you're gonna find a way to hinder my process. And I didn't want that to happen. So when I go on what I like to call my little explorations and investigations, I like to go whenever I want to go just to see what it was going. And each time, it never disappointed me. Each time was something, some little drama going on around there, or you could. I don't want. I want to say you could smell filth
Mm.
outside. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
you know what I mean? It's just, and you can feel there's like a certain vibe around the building, around the premise that
Mm-hmm.
that resonated high it resonated with my vibration, that I don't want to go near it, like too much, because I felt like I could feel the energy around it was not healthy, happy, or constructive, productive. You know what I mean? It
Well,
just wasn't
and
a
that's and those are really good points, because in the mission statement of CVC, they talk about providing a quote unquote healthy environment, and that's just not true.
no.
It,
Right.
I
It's
mean,
supposed to be. It's supposed to be a safe, healthy environment, and they don't provide that.
Yeah, and
right.
I'm saying because I pick up I'm intuitive, real empathic, and I can feel it. I can feel when when I were around certain people and their vibe is malicious, or they got something going on, something dark I don't want to be a part of, because then I feel defensive. I feel like agitated, defensive, I would say, aggressively, and I don't like that feeling, so I stay away from a lot of people. But I felt that vibe, and there's a scent around the area that's it's like filth, it's like death, it's like something.
Well, imagine just being there, being on the inside. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
it was.
wrong, right? Because I thought I was tripping. Jesse looked at me like I was tripping. No,
No, I mean it's really bad. And the thing is, as you pointed out, Jesse, you know, even if they consider it an allegation, I feel that it still needs to be investigated.
Yeah.
And
clearly.
so and that's what Debbie Ortega wrote back to me one day about them being allegations. And again, my response was, these are not allegations. This is actually happening.
Right.
And
Facts.
um,
Yeah.
and I'm really focused now on the racism,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because it's I when I first came in, I saw it and I kind of thought BCV was going to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just kind of it evolved, and I saw more and more people of color, or specifically Black people, being targeted, Hispanics being targeted, and and I remember having conversations with BCV staff, Hannah, Dorothy, and Cole,
Yeah.
saying people of color, and I wouldn't say that, but I would just say the names of the people. I would like say, look, they're being harassed, they're being targeted, they're being menaced. They're
Mm-hmm.
telling me things. They're not coming to you because they know you're not going to do anything.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
it's so, you have, Brandy, you're going by, Jesse's going by,
Mm-hmm.
you have that, but in addition, you have what I experienced. And I think, and I really find it very disconcerting that they never wanted me to call the police. And I said, I need to call the police because that's my right, and I want something for my records.
Right. You need a paper trail.
Yeah, and that
You need a record of what's
I
been
was
happening.
super impressed by this because I keep saying like I'm I'm one of those people that don't believe in calling the police ever, and real, it's so helpful. But I was like, he did the right thing that everybody's supposed to do. When you're in trouble, you're supposed to call them. He calls them. He calls them. He calls them. You know what I mean? He did the right thing. The one thing you're supposed to do when you're in a situation, that's out of control, because that's an out of control situation. And I was like, I don't understand. Like me too. I feel like that. But the reality is, we just have to come to the understanding that when it comes to us, because Black people, they don't want to acknowledge. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to end the situation that is profitable for them. They don't want to. And so in the end, we suffer. And they get to brush it under the rug, thinking that you'll just get tired and you'll give up. And that's what's the most impressive thing, is that you haven't given up. And I was like, he makes perfect sense. It's not like you talk like me. You know what I mean? You speak eloquently. You're a very intelligent man. And so it's like, why do they play these games when you have a articulate, obviously educated man speaking to you in a way that they can understand? White people can clearly understand what you're saying. You know what I mean? So
Well,
they don't want to deal with it because they know this is a threat.
Yeah.
Like that. What did wasn't Malcolm X say? Said the smartest they fear the Black man the most, or something
Yeah.
like that. It was because of knowledge.
Smart.
The smart.
Educated.
Yeah, there you go. I can't remember right now. But yeah, that's their weapon to them. Threat.
Yeah, you're a
so,
threat.
yeah, and I mentioned that in one of my emails, or if not two. And I'm really, it's unfortunate, but almost every tweet I put out or email, I mention the word firearm because I know that's a trigger for the police, because I want them to pay attention to the fact that Cody threatened me with the use of a firearm. And so if that's why they're calling me, then I'm going to put in Cody threatened me with the use of a firearm because I know they're looking through my emails now. I know they're looking through my tweets. So I'm like, so I'm
Is that
using that. And I'm saying, you've got you, and I'm trying to take, and I'm putting the focus and the responsibility on Cody and the police department respectively. Cause I'm kind of like,
you got a picture? You got something available right now you can share with the people so we know who we're looking at? You can share it on here, or we'll make room for you to share it.
you mean the pictures of the people?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Cody, especially Cody. Yeah, he seems to be the worst.
Yeah.
Well, I did I not? I'll go back in because I've sent out pictures of
We can
I've
share
sent
it.
out pictures of Cody in my emails, and maybe I haven't. I'll go back through, but I've sent out pictures of Cody because Cody is not only in a picture of CVC. Cody's in a picture with the Barton Institute, which is
Yeah,
the
I read.
umbrella for the DU grad school program, the social services program.
I read that. I saw the video. I saw the video. I read
He's
that.
picture with them too.
Yeah. So
He's like he's like a plant, 'cause he's like agent.
Yeah, he's a plant. Okay.
Now we get it. Now we get it. He's like a plant, like an agent. He's like meant to be there. Now, like, yeah, we get it. No
He's
wonder.
been getting away with so much.
No wonder. Now it makes sense.
what?
Oh,
Okay.
I thought you froze for a second.
No, it makes sense why Cody would be like always fucking with stuff. He's like a plant, like an agent, like they plant him
For what purpose?
just to keep things the way they want it. When you buck the system by calling the police or trying to get them to correct their issues, you're bucking their system. They didn't like that. They don't like that. So they have somebody. They have a couple people there. They probably chose for whatever reasons, and they probably made it enticing for him, and they planted him there so that he could keep an eye on stuff and keep it the way they want their facility to run, and report and just to tell or whatever.
Like you said, you need that for your
Look,
records.
you think you don't know. You think you know so much, but there's obviously somebody talking about you to them. You see what I'm saying?
Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
There you go. There you have it. Just think about it.
That's just my point, because when I was there, I sent several emails to Cole and BCC staff stating, you may have silenced other people here, but you're not going to silence me.
Yeah.
Cody's still there?
Huh?
Cody's still there?
It wouldn't surprise me that he is, because Sandra Herman, Haley King, Luna Rain, and Bobby are just figure they don't want to do anything. They don't want to improve their lives or anything. They're not seeking services. They're staying there indefinitely on our dime. And and the thing is that it really upsets me when I read Britta Fisher and Cole Chandler talking about how many people have been housed and seeking services at BCV, because that's not true. No one. I think I was the only one, and I had to initiate my own housing search through BCV.
That's bullshit. They should have it where you can transition up out of that shit.
We do that. It was
nobody wants to. I would hope nobody wants to live in a tiny home for the rest of their life, but there should be something put in place where you can transition up out of that shit. I don't understand why the city, with the whole pilot program and everything, I guess because we were just hounding them so hard for so many years to get this off the ground. That when we finally got off the ground, that's, of course, we're under a system of racism and white supremacy. White supremacists end up taking over what we fought so hard to create. because the city fought us for years. I mean, they confiscated. I've already gave y'all the rundown on what happened with that shit. And when it went down, the city was like, "Oh well, we're gonna make this a pilot project." Then it moved from being a pilot project to an actual entity, and now it's an enclave for white supremacists, and they need to be exposed.
Man,
Every
what
last
we
one of them
doing?
need to be exposed, and they need to be annexed up out of that. Because if these are like the day one people that's been there.
Right.
Peterson still had a lot to do with the selection at the first village. I don't know who had a after that. I don't know who until you brought these names up.
And the thing about
Who was in charge of that? Because as far as I knew, the village itself, self-governed, would decide who was going to be allowed in the village and who wasn't, and who was going to stay in the village and who was going to get kicked out. And
they lied. They lied to city council and saying that there was never really been any incidents where the police had to be called,
and that's a lie.
and that was a lie. We knew
Right.
what.
And because I stated that in my email, where they stayed in their 5-year celebration that no neighbor called, and my response was, yeah, but I called and I'm a resident. Those are individual residencies, and if you look at the police report, they put in there
To neighbors.
the neighbor.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They state the neighbor. So I'm like, yeah, I'm a neighbor too. So I called the police. And so I don't, and I'm not, and I sent each of you, I think I sent each of you there were 2 responses to my article from the Glendale Cherry Creek.
Yeah, I was going to pull that up. I was going to pull that up. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up because I could pull that up right now if I haven't already.
So
here it is.
So you'll see in those 2 emails, first of all, the first person is like, I'm right. BCV is bad. I don't like it. It's just pure chaos. He talks about moving out, and he talks about Candy Sidibaka, Kanich, and Ortega needing, and all other city council people need to go. And then the second person is like, yeah, I faced reverse discrimination because she said that she was that BCV asked her all kinds of questions that weren't necessary, were not pertinent to gaining access. She was saying like they were asking her that they'll help her if she has a mental health issue or a drug issue or if she's pregnant. So
interesting. And this is a sister or a person of
I'm
color?
not sure. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. She's Caucasian.
Oh,
but the first person is Hispanic.
Okay.
Yeah, they got your picture all over this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're reading it. Yeah, the people are reading it. You can see it, right? Yeah, so we're reading it. Yeah. Yeah, I read that out loud in on one of the rebuttals.
Yeah, so the author of this article is Luke Smaltz, and I think I told you a member of one of the Baker Historic District registered neighborhood organization referred me to him.
Okay, because they set up some kind of coalition or something where they are claim that they're looking out for our unhoused neighbors, but yet they don't want them to camp in their area.
Right.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of them. They get the chance to speak on city council public comment all the time, and we figured out some of their agendas, and we put it on blast too. Part of staying on code is to go ahead and call out all forms of racism and white supremacy and corruption that is not beneficial for us or our people. So that's our thing. You know what I mean? And it's not to belittle or tokenize your situation at all. It's actually to highlight it because it needs to be told. It needs to be told because the city is under this understanding that everything's just great and these people are all happy and they're living the best lives, and it's not true because you were living in what we consider a hell. Yep, yeah, that's a lot of money. And they lied. They said there was no police interactions from the neighbors.
And in fact,
And that's what the neighbors actually did.
Yeah, in fact, I think I mentioned this too. After one of the officers who responded to one of my 911 calls, I had him on the phone, and he says, "Oh yeah, I've arrested a few people there."
Yeah.
So, and I know personally of two people who were arrested.
Sure. Yeah, no, the police actually, the neighbors have called the police because it's been rowdy and whatever. It just takes somebody to pull those records up from all around that area because they cannot deny it. I mean, nothing is deniable when it comes to people like us wanting to know the truth.
That's
District 1, right? That's District 1. They did once I said a District 2 officer out there, right?
Well, that's another thing too, because there were times when I would speak to an officer who came from a different district, because my understanding when BCV was at 4400 Pearl Street, they were in District 9, which is Candy Citibaka's district. Yeah. But I do know that there were police officers coming from District 1 and District 5, and because other officers were just so busy with other things,
yeah, the police districts and the council districts don't add up.
Right.
So where the village is now, the original beloved community village, not Warren Village, is located now is in Gloveville, and Gloveville is under District 1.
Who's at District 1? Is that Sandoval?
No, Sandoval is yeah. City council, yeah. For city council is District 1. For the police is District 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I guess in that case they match up, but usually like 9, that would be District 2. Like Candy's district, that's District 2.
Are you able to transfer to Aurora?
District 1.
Are you able to transfer to Aurora? Are you able to move yourself to Aurora? In another situation like that, would you be willing to, if it was made possible?
Well, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned that, because one of the things I've been doing is talking to city council members all over Colorado. And one of those, and I've spoken to 2 city council members from Aurora.
Which ones?
I can't remember. I'll have to look at my emails.
It's probably Crystal or Juan.
Those are good. They're
Moncano.
good. Well, I was
Crystal
wondering,
Murillo and Juan Moncado.
maybe we talk to them too.
Or Ruben. It could be Ruben too.
Yeah, those are probably the best ones over there because they're the ones that actually do the work for the people.
Oh, and Allison. There's one more Allison.
I think it was Allison that I spoke to on two different occasions.
Contact them. Maybe there's no sense in you being out in the world without being sheltered, and there's no reason for it.
Like they should have. Like I don't understand why they didn't have this safety net in place. if you're supposed to transition from being off the streets into permanent supportive housing, CBC, why didn't you make it where people could do that? Like you have these relationships with the service providers. You could get people via SPDATs. I mean, it should be something like after a certain amount of time, you have to enter into these services because I mean, this village has been around for over 4 years now. It's got to be 4 years now since 2018.
Yep.
In the 2016, they confiscated 6 tiny homes, and we never got them back. None of the tools, none of the materials, nothing.
So, I mean, like, would you be willing to if it was made possible?
I
You
mean,
you
most of
still
my
don't have to stop your fight here. Don't do that. But just, for your
I mean,
own.
but most of my business is downtown. I mean, I would be open to Aurora. I've even been open to Boulder.
I would
But
say no to Boulder. I went through the same situation in a frat house in Boulder,
okay.
so I would say no to Boulder. Like the police literally told me in Boulder that I was a troublemaker and they needed to get me out of there. And they literally went out of their way to get me out of there. And I actually called the police on my roommates, and these bastards were upset that they sent a black officer.
And then the black just a token, family. He's just a token. Like you just might as well treat him like a white officer because he's on their agenda. Then, man, you don't even know how many black officers toss
This
me
was
around.
after, mind you, they repeatedly called the police on me.
That's wrong.
Well, it's always something, they find us as threatening, intimidating, malicious. We're always up to something. We're thieves. We're liars. We're always intimidating or menacing or manipulating or doing something stupid. It's never we could just be on our own good behavior, and where it's not considered a threat of some sort to them. Or let us get a little louder, or just a little bit a tone in our voice. We have already committed the ultimate crime against white people by making them feel some kind of way.
You gave them white fragility.
Their fragility has been touched, whereas they could be offensive to us all day long. And the moment we decide to get upset and call somebody,
you're the racist.
We're the racist. When in reality, how can we be racist? They just prejudice.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not racist. Completely different subject when it comes to us and non-black.
But they try to make them synonymous.
Right.
Yes, Key, I wish you would chime in. Dwayne, we're going to give you about 15 minutes, and then we're going to move to our next topics. But we definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Yeah, Doc, can you turn your camera on? Top?
I was just, listening intently with the information being presented, and me living in Africa, there's this mindset that there's no homeless people in America until and there's homeless people here and among the richest country in the world, and the same country is financing wars for Russia, Ukraine, and doing other things. Me, one of the reasons I feel Black people and minorities should really do is try not to finance their oppression.
Right.
What I mean by that is, you are spending money with people who build your prisons, who basically oppress your lifestyle. So if you're spending money with folks going to these high-end malls, buying expensive things that have nothing to do with you, and then you're expecting that those same people are going to, in return, out of their good kindness of their heart, help you, you're deceiving yourself. So,
it makes sense.
Yeah, so we have to love each other enough to buy from each other, support your Black people businesses.
Right.
Somebody is
That's
buying.
what we did
So that's it.
That's what we did today with Malcolm X Day. That's another one of our topics we're gonna get to here shortly.
We had an event today. So.
We had an event today, Brother Zaki, the second annual Malcolm X Day.
Yep.
Oh,
It
okay.
was good.
I
Talk
wish
about it
I'm
in a minute.
I wish I'm
Which I,
there
we got
because I
share,
was working.
Well, we're gonna give the floor back to Dwayne
and we'll
for
come
about
right back.
another 15 minutes, and then we'll come right back.
Yeah.
No, and to Saki's point, I remember talking to my grandmother when I went to visit her when she was alive, um, and we just casually said we're going into the city to go shopping, and her response was, "Don't give your money to the white man,"
Mm,
Right.
um, and it that hit home. I
yeah.
mean, and I mean, to Saki's point, I mean that is so true. I, the thing is, I just don't know where, and this is my naivety. I'm like, where are black businesses where I can?
Well, I mean, we used to have them in Denver, especially. We used to have them, but we're scattered about. So we were in the
Right.
Holly Shopping Center today, and there's black businesses there,
Yeah.
and then there's black businesses on the points, and there's some in Montbello, but
Okay.
it's not like it was, not by any means.
And there's some on the Colfax too.
No, everything's on Coke.
But the thing is too, also with that is that in our historic 5 points, it's been overdeveloped, and they pushed us all out, and they brought in all the white people, and so there's only a handful now of black businesses, and the ones that could make it, they stayed, and the ones that couldn't make it had to leave. Then they went all out to like Montbello or Green Valley Ranches. They kind of spread out, and they went to the upper. I want to say, yeah, I would say upper upscale area. It's for the streets, but the nice part of the areas, they went there. And I think it's too is that this is gonna sound very crazy, but I think they forgot what it was like to be black, and they forgot what it was like to be a community, family around nothing but black people. And so that when they went out to that level, the money, the better homes, the better quality of, I guess, their type of people are out there, as easily access to whatever they want. They can kind of fit in with those Caucasian people out there. They got money like that.
Yeah,
And
well,
so they
they
think
adhere to the HOA.
so they think that they have upgraded in their life. And in reality, you got us looking at them like, well, you left, so you can't benefit from nothing that we do down here. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it. Or, like, well, you left, and you got black businesses out here that are still struggling. Where we're lucky that we have somebody to book our engagements around nothing but small black businesses, entrepreneurs. It's always when we say it's a black event, it's really just a black event. Probably the lightest thing there is me,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we are there because it's important. We had a community, we had a village, we had family. I still was just like today. I'm outside. It's hot. It's humid out here, right? And I'm outside, and we're walking around. I'm following Jesse around, whatever. And I wave at everybody that's in Park Hill. Park Hill is still black. Where we were, still black. So I'm like, hey, hey, I wave at everybody. Everybody knows me, so it's okay. And I never feel like an outsider, even if it's the other side of town where I'm not supposed to be at.
Right.
We're
out of bounds.
We're out of bounds, but we act like we still own the place and everywhere we go. And it's just like, hey, we're here, man. This is a family event. That means when you look like us, well, Jesse, you and him, Jesse, Zaki, me, right? that this is a welcomed event. Come here. You ain't got to spend nothing, but just come here. Right. Say hello to the vendors. Right. Grab a free hamburger and a hot dog on your way out. We fed the kids, just stuff like that, because that's what we were supposed to be doing anyway.
Yeah.
That's community.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we don't have that no more. Everybody's on some other bourgeoisie type thing.
Everybody's on
yeah, and that's what you're used. And I think that too. I think it's a disservice what they do to you, because just by the way you talk on the phone or whatnot. The doors should be open to you to get what you need because you can speak to them on their level
But
of
he's still
understanding.
black.
Once they see you, they still treat you as if you're black. And when you're black, that's what they treat us. It'll never go away,
It's
Dwayne.
black first. That's
It'll
the
never
first
go
thing
away.
they
This
see is
racism is for
black.
life as long as we're alive. You understand? No matter how much we want it to go away, how much we wish it would stop, it never ends for us. It'll always be like this. And so, no matter how you did the right things, it doesn't matter because you're still black. And now you're seeing it like at an adult. If you've seen it when you're small, you're seeing it now as a grown man with your eyes wide open, and you're seeing the real disgusting behavior that is consistent. You know what I mean? I've seen it my whole life. And the older I get, the worse it gets, and the more animosity I build inside. Honestly, you know what I mean? And I can't help it. I can't help it because it's so there and they're so blatant and belligerently malicious with it. So it'll never go away, no matter how much we want it to. It'll never go away, my friend. Never. Never.
Until we replace the system with a system of justice.
Right. Even then, now and then it'll be too much. We got our own people programmed all wrong. You know what I mean? We're all programmed wrong. So now it'll
Trying to
be worse to
deprogram
us. It'll be worse because not only will we be prejudiced, but then they can go ahead and throw on this the terms of black supremacy against the white supremacists. You know what I mean? It's always some sort of word salad that is just belligerently malice to us and with no understanding of where we're coming from with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but as far as I know in history, black people really, I mean, I don't think we've oppressed anyone.
No.
Mm-mm.
We haven't put people in chains and, you know, and that in the narrative that indigenous people of this country scalp people, I mean, in my research, it was the opposite.
Yeah, what's
You know,
up?
you know, it was the white Europeans who scalped Indians.
You realize they only recognize white or like my color indigenous versus the actual black indigenous. Do you realize that they
Yeah,
never
they should-
speak to the black aboriginals or the black in what do you say? How did I say, baby?
Indigenous.
Indigenous. There are black indigenous. Okay,
Yes.
they don't recognize them. They only recognize what we consider the white indigenous or the $5 Indian, quote unquote, whatever. You know,
Gals Rose.
yeah, they only recognize them, and that is that is an atrocity in itself. For real, that is a major atrocity in itself because if anybody's really did any real reading, they would know that there are black indigenous here and have been here since forever before we got here.
Beginning of time. Exactly.
Mhm.
Right. And to Zaki's point, what about all the other humanitarian crises that are going on? Africa, South America. I mean, but we focus, you know, the whole idea of Ukraine. I understand it's important, but that narrative that they look like us thing, I was just kind of like,
No,
that was just so appalling to me.
Yeah.
they did the black Ukrainians
They consider
ugly.
this country a
Black
white
Russians.
country, even though they know that they're going to be the ethnic minority, if not already, within the next 10 years.
Look what
they'll be the ethnic
Zaki.
minority.
Speaking of that, you know that they have them the
That's
Russian
why-
and black Ukrainian the students in prison camps out there.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
couldn't ever. They got them in prison camps, like school camps,
Mhm.
because they said, "Oh, it's for their safety because they're black and they're living in squalor and under ugly ass conditions." A lot of people don't even know that. They think they got out.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get out.
No,
Look
they
at Brittany.
haven't.
That's
Yeah.
it's an ongoing end, whether you are in Europe or America. You know, they only see one thing is you're black. You know, they're not gonna ask, oh, which are you Nigerian, Jamaican, or Haitian? They only see one thing. You know, and unless the
So,
black
like,
unless the black people rise up
Fight.
together. Because the
prepped
white
us
folks
for
during
racism.
those days, the white folks came together to colonize Africa. So why can't the
Yeah,
Africans come together to decolonize and
and create the
overthrow the?
United
Mhm.
Africa.
So and
Right.
we can before we move on, I just want to say 2 seconds. I believe we can
Okay.
overthrow the system.
Yeah.
There has been a blueprint set in place.
Hmm.
I'm a Pan Africanist, and I follow Marcus Garvey, who also followed Dessalines in Haiti.
We
And
celebrating the 8th Marcus Garvey here in Denver in August.
Sankofa
I'll
man.
be there, Zankofa. So that's all I want to say.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Brother Zaki. Brother Dwayne, did you have any last words before we move on to our
How
next
much?
subject?
How much have you raised? Last time I checked, it was like a month or two ago. It was
990 something.
$900.
990.
Yeah, we're gonna post that on our right here on this video because once we share it, we're gonna keep sharing it, sharing it, sharing it, sharing it, sharing it. I'm in Facebook jail for 30 days for 30 days on for broadcasting from my own channel, which is Frontline Black News, and 6 days on my actual page. So after that, um, we'll go ahead and we'll let you have a little break from us, but I'm gonna have you back on my show at an earlier time, so that we can go over some of the recent material you sent me, because I went through everything the last time I was on it for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It was very healthy and I would say therapeutic for me. And so we're
Yeah,
gonna put other.
there's I mean, you can imagine. I mean, when you're in a situation, um, I mean, there's a lot that we all process and experience, and when I started documenting, now that I look back on all of my documentation, I'm a little overwhelmed, because it's not just the quantity of the documentation. It's just also the fact that with all of that documentation, nothing's been done.
Yeah.
Um, um, and it's and I was listening to a CNN report earlier today, and they had a black panel on, and one of the commentators was saying, the police, they they were still pushing for the police to be defunded because that whole idea of serve and protect does not exist for black people, and they were referencing Uvalde, Texas, as well, and I'm starting to agree with that. And now listening to everyone here, you know, I, I know that it's taken this long to hear from a detective, um, and I'm not wholly surprised, but um, in spite of all that isn't happening, I still have to put it out there. I still, I'm, it's very limited, but I don't have a lot of hope, but I'm still putting it out there. And now, as I alluded to earlier, I'm going to start using words that get attention. Um,
I mean, I thought
and
that was a brilliant idea with the heat with the firearm thing. I mean, it only what especially right now they kind of targeted you, considering all the stuff that's been going on in the last few weeks.
right,
So
exactly.
it is triggering for them. So they're like, oh no, you know, especially like we just had a active shooter scare at the school right down the road.
Yeah. North.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
so
read about that.
oh man, like let's just get on this right now before it gets out of hand.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, but I want to thank you both for having me on, and it was nice hearing from all the guests and speakers.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank you,
Dwayne.
Dwayne. good luck. We put some stuff in the chat for you privately, so you can check that out. And we'll be in touch after maybe give you a day or two. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
Right,
Thank you.
peace.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Now, go ahead, Zaki. All right. We gotta
Right,
tell you.
Zaki is
We
still
gotta talk
with
about
us.
Malcolm X Day.
What is Zaki?
You gotta. Do you show the video Rick, on yours?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry, I had to charge my computer. My
Okay.
battery very low. But it was powerful listening to Mr. Dwayne. So I just got my charger back on.
Oh, okay.
All right. We're gonna share a couple of little things. Before we get into tangibles, we're gonna tell you we had an event today. It was our second annual Malcolm X Day celebration. We would have did it the week before, but it was raining and snowing for us in the city that day. It was horrible, so we were not going out there. This is sponsored by Queen Bianca, Sister B. We had put out the flyers for it, and there was a few vendors there. Brother Sharif Alim, he was there. Obviously, Mr. Chapman, the Bud Man, was cooking up some free grub. We had music there. We had Sister Titi there.
Yeah.
She was selling our hats and art and stuff. And she was playing music, and that was great.
Mm-hmm.
We had another vendor right next to us. I forgot what their name was. They were making
Angel and Ty.
Yeah, Angel and Ty, and then they were making burritos and fajitas and all kinds of good stuff over there. That's their table right there. If you guys can see it. This is them setting up. I showed up fashionably late, like 2.5 hours later. As you know, apparently I got a bad heart, so that's kind of takes me a lot of time to get ready to go out in public. Not just to get ready, but just to get my body functioning correctly. So she is, and we had so much fun with her. She's so nice. And she's selling hats and whatnot. We had the babies out there playing games and just messing around. We had there's Jesse. That's how Bianca.
I'm so proud of the way this event came together. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and then that's Brother Sharif. He was out there with his wares, and he was
I got
doing
this
well.
hat. You see this hat, Zaki? I got this from him.
I didn't get nothing.
Well done.
I got free burgers though. I work for food. And then when he bought me, Jesse's so selfish.
I didn't buy this.
What time was this?
This was about noon to 4ish.
Oh yeah, I was on the plantation walking today, so I couldn't.
Yeah, this is they're selling plants. We collected a little bit of funds from the community. We're very happy about this. They gave us some good feedback on his mayoral run. And that kind of helped with the vending too. It went to the whole community really, and that's kind of like what Jesse was gonna do anyway with his campaign. Give like his money back. I'm like, oh well, but it was a good thing. That little shop right there is hardly ever open. So I was kind of surprised to see it open. I never see it open when I cruising around through here. And I showed up like let's go to ours, babe. Go to ours, and that way we can. This is Queen Bianca. Her sister Bianca Connor. She was there filming first, and then I got there a little later, and I tried to put it up on Hey, go to you. Where's yours? Okay, gotta go to the one where we start, where I was interviewing for a second, where it started off. Where's the one where I started off?
That's from.
Okay, we'll get there. Where you put it?
I was screaming from.
Okay, hold on 1 second, Zaki. So I can show you that. I had to start it off because I was supposed to be filming, and I had it set up. Like I said, I got blocked for basically saying the truth of how I felt with this accidental shooter. I said their kids need to be blah 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 and woo. right? I can't say it because I don't want our actual work page to get taken down. But the person who I said he dined me out, and he showed up today. He showed up
Wow.
today,
Wow.
and he didn't want to talk at all. Oh, Buster.
Hmm.
Because I was like, hey, there's a Black dean of journalism. You know, there he is. Let's capture that. See, look, you keep playing.
Mm.
I do the fair use. So.
Oh, can you hear
Fair
it?
use YouTube.
Or use YouTube. Um, all right, yeah. So, can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
And talk to the individuals real quick, and so you guys can see who's here and what's really going on. Yeah, she can say
Can you see that, family? This is like my fifth one where it's blocked in 249 locations. Yeah, okay, so me and Jesse. Let me standing there. I never standing up, man. I had to dress on. I had to make sure there was like the wind was blowing. I had to keep my dress down.
You just mad because you like the your car. Yeah. You don't want to be.
I mean, because we're on the street.
You gotta get off the music or something, right? Oh, ooh, sorry, baby. Hi. I do revolutionary agenda for like Black Lives. We decided to take a little walk.
I had a bad heart, so I don't really go nowhere. I really didn't want me to stop. My heart can stop.
Saying hi to everybody. Always looking at and bring us here at our second annual event. It's Black Empowerment Day. We're celebrating Malcolm X. We didn't get to celebrate the week before. It was raining, so it's so. But our video might be cut short. Just because of the music.
I try to keep my dress down.
We'll talk about this event.
I got shorts on, but that doesn't matter. They get excited when dresses blow. It is the way it's like.
Let me get down the stairs, bro. I can't see. Let me get down the steps, man.
He's helping with the elders.
I just said, let me go down the steps. Right there. You got another one? Good?
Let Jesse be.
Let me know when, man.
He's helping us.
Let me win.
And like he's helping the elders.
Another step. Oh, shit. Yeah, there you go.
Damn, I was always speaking. Let's block this some shit. I religiously, brother, wear no shoes nowhere.
Sharif.
I didn't have shoes on the whole
Sharif, how much sopranos? How much your oils? No, but how much are they? 10.
3 for 20. That's the deal right there.
I have no shoes on, period, all the time.
Here we're standing around, walking around, saying hi, waving to all the beautiful people out here. It's me. Just got a dog park, yeah. You over here, and I want to walk back. So we sit down, just gonna walk back because bad hurt.
Bad hurt, and you stop and you give him play. And I was just over there doing the post, man. I would have started dancing. I had to control myself. But yeah, I'm standing around. I can barely breathe when we got back to the. I was throwing gang signs. I never stopped. Let me stop right now before. And just about. He got like the. right, stop. I'm my little whip. Like, around like a little whip. Fast, yeah, so we had a little event. And we were super, super stoked because we worked really hard. I did a lot of, me and Sister B, I told her, I called her and said, "Babe, man, I need a break from this politics. Let me do something. Let me work on something with you." Um, I said because this campaign is is like it was training me, so I had to put myself into some arts and crafts. So we went and threw together Malcolm X Day, and then we got Garvey Day coming up too, and it's been working so well. We have not had one malfunction yet. What was supposed to be kind of like a messed up day for us, because a lot of things canceled, actually turned out to be a beautiful day because, like we was talking, me, Sister B, and Jesse yesterday, last night, well, we called to make sure everything was gonna go. We were gonna go good, and it was sounded so depressing because we're a musical guests. We everything just kind of canceled on us, and she was like, "It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna have a beautiful day." And I was like, "Yep, we're gonna have a beautiful day." And sure enough, it came out. I mean, we had the kids. We had pictures of the kids playing. Um, there was like 4 or 5 little kids. We even fed some of the little neighborhood kids. They were trying to punk us at the food thing, and I'm just like I'm one of those type of people who will spank your kid. Okay, I won't even your kid's messing up. I will spank your kid. I won't apologize for it. All right, so I'm that way. So I was over there just mad correction, like, hey, is that your bottle right there? I don't want you to forget it. Why don't you pick that up? Hey, no, hey, no, you get your hands off of that, boy. Like, don't be touching that campaign. Don't be touching the
There was
campaign.
one in particular. He kept begging for this damn water bottle. He wanted it so bad, the Obama water bottle.
Yeah, we had to deny him because he little touchy feely types. But really, what he wanted was the our little donation thing that we had for everything, for everybody. And he just found a way, like he was just always wanting to touch his stuff, and he was just kind of bullyish. And I'm like, man, I'm one of those people that don't spank your kid. I don't care. I just don't care. I feel like everybody just needs spanked. That's what it is. You know what I mean? It made me a better person. I actively thank my father for whooping off in my ass. Like I don't steal very much anymore. I don't lie. I don't lie. You know what I mean? I just tell the truth. I look people in their eye. I'm trying not to be so disrespectful. I mean, I'm a really good person. I keep my hands to myself when I go to visit. I keep my eyes in one spot. I sit in one spot when I go to visit people for the whole time I'm there. That way I can't be accused of anything. That was the main thing we were taught in my house, where you start moving around or your eyes start moving around or you I touching shit.
Yeah.
People don't want you in your house and they always accuse you of stealing. So that was a lesson I was taught very young. Keep your hands to yourself and sit still and don't be touching shit that don't belong to you. Those are like the main thing. Don't touch shit that don't belong to you. Don't touch things at other people's houses. And sit there, yes ma'am, yes sir, use your manners. You know what I mean? Speak when you're spoken to. I have good moral skill sets, and I'm not gonna lie, they were kind of beaten into me. I turned out well.
It's good because the younger generation, I have no idea who's raising them, but it's an embarrassment
It is an
as far as I'm
embarrassment.
concerned.
Kids
Lack of
like
respect.
Oh yeah, this new generation, they're activated, brothers. Like I don't know what happened in the last couple of months, with the energy of the moon and the planetary shift, but it activated these 24 something little devils to want to shoot up small children, and one what was it, a paint gun to school right down the street
yeah.
and take a selfie. That's why I got in trouble because I commented on the selfie of what should happen, and I can't really want to go into, but I was definitely like, put them there, roll up on their parents though, and one of them was black. I was like, and that black family is off code.
Yeah.
They're off code, and yeah, everybody needs a good, healthy talking to. And
It takes
what
a village to raise a child.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it does.
Well, nobody wants to put anybody in the juvenile detention facility. You know, I went there a few times. I'm not gonna lie. I thought I was tough when I was 12, and I went in there when I was messing up as a little girl. The police picked me up, threw me in there. My mama didn't come get me. The sister didn't come get me. I was in there for a little while, right? I go in there, and then there was a window at the first when you come in, and I remember that the girls that were my age rammed the window real hard and pointed at me, and they were calling me all kinds of derogatory, unaffiliated gang members, right? And
Mm.
I was like, that right there. I was sitting there waiting to get booked in process, and I get in, and it was just nonstop tussling, nonstop. And I just remember, there was one thing that I've been there a few times after that, obviously. Like, it was one thing that would let you get a life check when you think you come from a good area and you're untouchable. You could just run the streets and do whatever you want. The system lets you know you ain't shit as soon as you get in there. You know what I mean? They
Right.
let you know.
One brother
And it,
told me it's you're better off being a man rather than being a gangster, because if you're a gangster or you think you're a wannabe gangster, somebody's gonna test. They want
test
gonna
it.
test that lifestyle, and if you're not about that, then
I was not that ready. I wasn't that great of a fighter at all until I got a little
can you
older.
imagine me being a wannabe gangster? My
Now,
ancestors would be rolling in their grave.
now when you deal with 4 or 5 people at the same time jumping on you every other day because your mouth is just reckless. I was just reckless like I am now, but it worse. And they saw it when he came in. I've been to jail a few times. I sized people up too, but I didn't learn how to do that until I went in there. And so there was, sized me
Is
up. They
brother Jesse listening to this? This is interesting.
messed me up. But I was like, maybe they need that. Maybe they need a little trip to the gill, because the gill
Wow.
will get you on some mind correction. This school where this happened there's like 5 buildings on this school. It is massive.
Yeah, it's a whole campus.
It's a massive place. Every high school I ever went to, every middle school I ever went, had one building, maybe a couple of sheds. Okay? This is a massive campus, like college like it seemed like.
Yeah,
Maybe medical hospital campus like. It's just huge.
yeah, it is.
Really huge. They showed it from the air. I was like, oh, that's right down the street. No wonder that's all that development that has been going on for all these years.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So what's your topic? Tangible.
Yeah, so we're gonna move to tangibles,
Tangibles.
definitely. So
This
yes,
is Mr. Denver Tangibles 2020.
yeah,
2023.
2023. Yes, Black family, we are still steadfast on them tangibles. We are demanding $100 trillion for past, present, and future atrocities this United States government, this corporation, continues to put us through. And we're not letting up. The midterms are coming up, and they want us to go out and vote. Vote for what? If these politicians ain't offering us nothing tangible, something real, something concrete, something substantive, why are we bothering with it, Black family? So I'm gonna refresh us on what tangibles is all about. Let me share the screen.
Yeah, tangibles. Very important, Black family. They gave you reparations to the Ukraine and everybody else. So I would just look at it that way. And why vote until I will vote for Marcel for Congress
Yeah, and Dion.
and Dion.
Nixon.
Dixie,
Dixon.
yeah, we like him. We're gonna vote for everybody who's on the Black grassroots, Black agenda, and we're not gonna punk them about it either. Because I watched the interview with Dion, and you got these coons out here that are so misinformed,
Yeah.
and they refuse to get on code, and they want to go ahead and act like money is everything. Yeah, money isn't everything. It really is about the people at the end of the day.
Yeah, so Tangibles 2020 is what sparked this off, and it was by Tariq Nasheed, right out of LA, historian and book.
Oh, yeah, historian, author, videographer, makes movies, filmmaker,
yeah,
music producer. He does everything, and he's building the first Black Hidden History Museum, Black Museum.
And I got an update on that. So the 2020, at this time it was 2020, and we had the presidential elections coming up. But I'm gonna change it because we have the midterms coming up. So the 2022 midterm elections are coming up, and foundational Black Americans are going to reject the 50-year-old malign neglect policy that has been implemented by the political system. This malign neglect policy mandates that Black Americans should be ignored and only mentioned in vague and non-specific terms, lumping foundational Black Americans in with groups, um,
People of color.
minorities, immigrants, people of color, etc., has only hindered the progress of Black Americans as a group while providing tangible benefits for other groups. In this election cycle, meaning this midterm election cycle, Black Americans are going to insist that our needs are specifically met by politicians who are seeking our vote. Foundational Black Americans want tangible benefits, specifically for us. We do not want trickle down secondary benefits that are provided for every group. Every group has not been systematically marginalized and disenfranchised in every area of society as foundational Black Americans. So we refuse to be lumped in with groups who often assist in the exploitation and disenfranchisement of Black Americans. So politicians must offer tangibles, specifically the foundational Black Americans, or we simply will not vote for them. Be sure to spread this message far and wide on social media using the hashtag Tangibles 2022 because we're in the year 2022. Uh, and that's what we've been doing for the past 2 years, Black family. Spreading this message far and wide. It's become a trademark. I could damn right copyright it on Frontline Black News. It's become a staple here on Frontline Black News, and it's essential at this point, Black family, because we're in a state of emergency. So any politician that's seeking your vote, including myself, because I've already filed for mayor, I filed last month, and the campaign is underway. And as Lady Chase said, the community came out and supported the cause and loved my speech. So I'm been trying to find a video of my speech, but I haven't found it yet. But once I do, I will
I
be
would love
posting.
to see that.
But
It's good.
any politician that's seeking your vote, Black family, demand something tangible for your vote. Stop just voting just to be voting. Stop just voting because the white-owned media told you to go out and vote, or anybody but Trump, or any other kind of nonsense like that. Vote because you have an agenda and a cause, and that is Black liberation, Black empowerment, Black freedom. So that's what we fight for here on Frontline Black News, and we urge you to do the same because we can't continue doing the same thing expecting a different result. That's insanity, Black family. So it's time to break the insanity and
I
demand
share.
something tangible for your vote. What are your thoughts, Brother Zaki, before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I really admire your relentless not giving up on the tangibles 2020. I wish that uh, there's more support from the Black family. Me, I'm not eligible to receive anything like that, but regardless of that, I support the family because at the end of the day, I consider you to be part of the African family,
Yeah.
and the African family that has suffered in the United States needs to be uh,
Oh,
confiscated, needs to be, you know, I don't know the right words or the terms, but you can see the Japanese were able to uh, get their tangibles.
yeah,
So
see reparations.
exactly, yeah. So, for my African family here in the US, keep fighting the good fight. You've come this far. In fact, not to, I don't want to like have like big heads, but we in the African world, whether in Africa or South America or Caribbean, we actually look up to the African American as the leaders of the revolution. Maybe because you guys we live in a powerful country
Mhm.
and you guys know more about the ways of the white folks in
Yeah,
other parts of the world. So we need to learn from the blueprints, like Brother Jesse, Malcolm X,
and
Martin Luther King.
and
So
what we're advocating here on Frontline Black News is you sue your colonizer. Look, let us be the example of what how to go about receiving your reparations from your colonizer. Our colonizer is the United States government, but the Caribbean, the British, the French, the Spanish, go they owe reparations too. I mean, the Caribbean got CARICOM. I mean, they don't even include Black Americans in CARICOM, but we don't even trip because we know that Marcus Garvey couldn't get nothing cracking in the Caribbean. He had to come to America before he could even get anything started because there's so much classism and and other isms in the Caribbean that are keeping the people in the position that they're in. Here in America, we already know who the enemy is, and that is the racist white supremacy government. And we fight that each and every day, and we've been fighting it since day one. So, yeah, like you said, we know this beast better than anybody.
just as a side note, the as a Pan Africanist, actually African Americans and Caribbean, they're actually one people. A lot
Hmm.
of African Americans may not know that they can trace their ancestry to the Caribbean. And the reason why I say this is because um, the Louisiana Purchase,
Hmm.
when the French, before the French lost the colony to Haiti,
Hmm.
um, Caribbeans and were basically both on Louisiana and in Haiti and Jamaica. So they were actually all one people before the French Napoleon lost Louisiana. And when they lost Louisiana, then you can see the kind of breakup between the Caribbean and African Americans.
Well,
But supposed to
lost
be
during the rebellion of Haiti, the
mhm,
1804 rebellion. That's how they lost it. The Louisiana
very
Purchase
good.
to sell off that land to the United States government because they lost the war against Haiti.
And the ones that fled the revolution, the Haitians, because the white folks brought the Haitian enslaved Africans to Louisiana and other
Hmm.
parts of the South. You know, they were able to intermingle with other enslaved Africans here already on the United States.
Yeah,
So even though the Caribbean is basically not inviting African Americans to their own cause, it's actually they're actually hurting themselves because African Americans and Caribbeans they're actually one people, but because the white folks try to divide as much as they can, you know. So that's food. That's just food for thought. But
That's
go on.
good. It's good though because a lot of people didn't know that, so it's good to know.
There's so much information and history out there. It's not even funny. The
Yeah.
more
right.
you learn about yourself,
History
the
that's
more
not
you want to learn.
see, that's the history that's not talked about.
Right.
The maroon colonies, the fact that Haiti made it where if you could get there, you were free. No matter where you came from out of the diaspora, if you could get there, you were free. And Mexico did the same under a black president,
That's
and then
right.
they killed him with Vicente Guerrero because
Mhm.
he freed the Africans that were enslaved in Mexico. Um, so yeah, we don't get the credit that we deserve, but
Do you
we're
know?
trying
Do you
to
know it was a Haitian person that founded the city Chicago?
yes.
You know, so it's
Learned that in Hidden Colors. Well, I knew it before Hidden Colors, but it was confirmed in Hidden Colors 1 through 5 that Chicago had was created by a man of Haitian descent.
mhm,
Uh,
Shout out, brother Tariq Nasheed. Excellent
yes,
body of work.
yes.
powerful, brother.
Okay, so our next topic, Black family, is Sundiata is finally released from prison.
Finally,
Now, Zaki, you know who Sundiata Acoli is, right?
I've heard of her. If you can just maybe shed some more
You're on
information.
mute.
I mean,
Or did I mute myself?
no, you're good.
Oh,
It was on my end.
oh,
Do you know who he is?
Do
yeah.
you
If
know?
you can shed more light, I've heard of what's been going on with him, but shed more light.
Okay, here we go. So this article is from is this NewJersey.com, the True Jersey. It says Sundiata Acoli convicted in murder of state trooper in 1973. I think that's what Asada Shakur
I was gonna, yeah.
released from prison. That's him right there. He's done almost 50 years in prison for a crime
You didn't
he commit.
commit. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Uh, Sundiata Acoli, the Black Liberation Army activist convicted of the infamous 1973 killing of a New Jersey State Police trooper, was released Wednesday after nearly 50 years in prison. The 85-year-old Acoli was freed a little more than 2 weeks after the state Supreme Court ordered his parole in a decision that drew praise from his supporters but rebuke from Governor Phil Murphy and law enforcement agent officials, of course.
Of course.
Despite being a New Jersey prisoner, Acoli was held in various federal facilities in other states over the years, most recently in Maryland. But he was transferred to Southwoods State Prison in Cumberland County, New Jersey, for his release Wednesday. His attorney, Bruce Affron, said Acoli is now living with his daughter in Brooklyn and spent Wednesday with his grandson. Affron said he is beginning the process of becoming his own man. Affron told New Jersey Advanced Media. The bring the bring Sundiata Acoli Home Alliance, a advocacy group, said Acoli walked out of prison into the arms of his family and loved ones. Acoli is not granting media interviews at this time, the group said. Oops. As you can imagine, after 49 years, Mr. Acoli is finally able to spend time with his family, and we want to make sure we respect his precious moments, the group said. Acoli was known as Edward Clark Squire when he and fellow Black Liberation Army member Joanne Christamont
Chismart.
Chismont, now known as Asada Shakur, and one of the FBI's most wanted fugitives, were convicted in 1974 in the killing of Trooper Wiener Forster. Wiener.
Warner.
Warner. Oh, sorry, Warner. When I see Warner, I think that A, not a E. Acoli has been denied parole 8 times since becoming eligible in 1993. The state parole board denied him release in 2019, saying he was still a threat to society. But the state Supreme Court ruled 3-2 there was no substantial credible evidence to support the panel's view. Writing for the majority, Justice Barry Albin noted that Acoli had renounced violence as an acceptable way to achieve social change, had more than 2 decades free of infractions in prison, underwent counseling, acquired vocational skills, and is now of advanced age. Yeah, advanced age, 85. However, despised a Acoli may be in the eyes of many because of his notoriety of his because of the notoriety of his crime. He too is entitled to the protection of the law and to the fair and impartial administration of justice, Albin wrote. The gun battle on the New Jersey Turnpike had left Forrester dead is one of the most infamous cases in state history. Acoli has apologized for his role in the trooper's death, but the state repeatedly denied parole, finding he lacked remorse for the killing. His supporters have described him as an elderly grandfather with dementia who has repaid his debt to society. Yeah, you think after 50 years? Acoli claims he was grazed by a bullet during the shootout and blacked out and couldn't remember the exact sequence of events. Under questioning in his last hearing, he suggested Forrester could have been killed by friendly fire. The shootout happened on May 2nd, 1973, when Acoli was driving with two fellow members of the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army, Chesman and James Costin. All three were armed with handguns. Shortly before 1 a.m., Trooper James Harper stopped their car for a broad broken taillight. Acoli left the car to speak with Harper, and Forrester arrived as backup. According to the court opinion, Forrester frisked Acoli while Harper approached the car. While patting Acoli down, Forrester uncovered ammunition and a pistol, and he was confronting Acoli. As he was confronting Acoli, investigators said Chestnut shot Harper in the shoulder, and a shootout ensued between Harper, Chestnut, and Castan. Although the exact sequence of events has been subject of dispute, the court said Acoli attempted to wrest, wrest, wrest,
Meant to be wrestled.
yeah, Forrester's gun from the trooper, and that during the struggle he claimed that Harper fired at him, grazing the top of his head and causing him to black out. According to Acoli, when he regained consciousness, Forrester's body was laying on the ground nearby. He then fled with Castant and Chesmont, both severely wounded. In 1974, a jury found Acoli guilty of all charges brought against him for Forrester's murder and the shooting of Harper. In all, he received a prison sentence of life plus 24 to 30 years. Wow.
Jesus.
So they wanted him away for the rest of life, for real, for real.
Exactly.
They
That's
got
it.
a sentence plus 20 years. That means getting out. Under law, at the time, Coley first became eligible for parole in 1993. The parole has denied his parole every time he became eligible for this. Damn,
Damn.
that's him right. That's him in 1970s. Shakur has also a Forrester's murder, escaped from prison in 1970, and now lives in Cuba. She is still on the FBI's wanted list. Attorney General opposed his release. Oops. Acoli's release, he had not demonstrated remorse. Acting State Attorney General Matthew said in a statement earlier that he was disappointed in the Supreme Court's ruling that Acoli's eligibility was based on as it was at the time of his election, which had more standard. We're almost done, Blood family. Under New Jersey law, if any, if an individual murders a law enforcement officer on duty, never eligible for parole, a decision that reflects the nature of that crime. Plank Plankin said in a dissenting Justice Solo, the Supreme Court's decision is a disrespect of our fundamental principles of appellate review, grave injustice. State Trooper Warner Forrester and his ain't that nothing.
Yeah.
My friend, he was very cool to the court that Supreme returned to parole board's ruling, but said it's fortunate the process delayed 5 years, meaning of having released at an advanced old age.
Holy shit.
Wow, they just took this black man's whole life away from him on
Exactly.
purpose.
So I thought I thought he was like a Black Panther, right?
He was a Liberation Army activist.
So similar.
So they ran with the Black Panthers, but it was a different. The Black Liberation was more militant than the Panthers.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, now he's old and more than half his life is gone because of that.
Yeah,
But
and
that's
they still.
actually, it's if that's why I really urge the black man in this country to really play it smart, because what the new strategy is they try to catch young black men from ages 18 and up, so that by the time you are 40, 50, and you get out of prison, the motivation to fight for your people and be revolutionary is gone. All you just want to do is just now find a job and just settle down. So that youth to
Yeah,
fight for your people and be about the cause, that youth is basically evaporated because you've spent that most of that in prison. you know and by the time, and unfortunately there's a lot of black men who are doing time, and there is no evidence that they even committed the crime. And by the time they're released from prison, a lot of, yeah. Am I
I'm
breaking up?
having connection issues.
uh, is it me? I think it's you. Your screen froze.
Shit.
Oh, you're back.
Was really yeah. We're gonna our signals are cut out, so we're gonna try to rush this real fast before we lose.
Yeah, it's kind of getting late for me
Unhoused neighbors,
too.
right? Shit. This one's done.
For the week, crazed gun decided to shoot up a school full of elementary school kids, and we were gonna touch on that, but this is like really stupid.
Well, let's see if we well, can we just highlight it? Get the highlights. No
This
video or
is
something.
frame of it.
No video.
Did not article.
Okay. There's the video. All right.
Slow. So
Nice. Yeah, just back hit the video.
I'm still here.
We're about to video because we're gonna shorten this. We don't want to lose the signal. Then I'll mess up our podcast.
Yeah,
So-
because you're breaking up badly, but I feel your vibration.
Just scroll down to where it says scrutinize. A little context: there was 19 children killed, 2 teachers, a grandmother, and then they eventually ended up killing the kid. He was 8 years old.
They killed him or he killed himself.
As police waited to take down the gunman in Uvalde, experts say that decision cost lives. A roughly hour and 20 minutes from the first to final shots should have never elapsed. What was happening inside the classroom, former officers say, was not a barricaded suspect, but an active shooter.
That's an active scene. We have to go in. Even if that shooting stops, it is 100% wrong that it ever transitioned into a barricaded suspect. The shooter will divert their attention to us. So we will engage the shooter. During that time, he is not killing students. He's not killing staff.
The Texas Commission on Law Enforcement says time is the #1 enemy during active shooter response, and the #1 objective of police should be to stop the killing. Instead, 19 officers waited in a hallway for 47 minutes as children in the classroom called 911 and begged police for help.
I really don't have words at this point for it. Even if I was standing there and an incident commander told me, you've got kids inside a room, you have an armed shooter who's already fired numerous shots, we're going to wait, well, good luck. I'm not waiting, I'm going in by myself.
The Uvalde School District had recently doubled its security budget and held an active shooter drill in March.
As long as there's kids, as long as there's someone's firing, we go to the gun.
But this time, they didn't.
Is there any scenario in which waiting for over an hour is acceptable? In this situation, no, not at all. You have to go in, no matter what, no matter the officers were saying, well, we were afraid of being shot. So are you scared? Yes. But you do what you're trained to do. And if you take your oath seriously, then you hazard yourself.
Tonight, tragic mistakes with unspeakable and unbearable consequences. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
If you follow the Black News,
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.
Hold on a second. Jason Blacc of the Blacc Authority gave an excellent broadcast today about this, where he had done some digging and future work. So if you are on code and you are a listener of the New Black Media, I encourage you to go ahead and check out the Blacc Authority, where Jason Blacc covered this today thoroughly, and how this affects us as Black people. And we encourage you encourage everybody who listens to the New Black Media to go ahead and catch up on that today, because our brother Jason Blacc and Professor Black Truth, Tariq Nasheed, Vicky Diller, they really go in and do the investigative work to make sure that we stay in the loop, educated and on code.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is a major thing. He covered this today, where right now what we just showed you, family, they had children calling the police. They had family breaking the windows to get their children out because the police were so scared. But I mean, let's just be real about it. Like, family, they're not afraid to kill us.
Nope.
They're not afraid at all. They are never
Look,
afraid.
my thing is, where are all these Blue Lives Matter people at? Where are all these people that said we gotta refund the police?
For what? They waited a whole hour. 19 children, two teachers are dead, and one of the husbands of the teacher, one of the teachers who passed away short a couple of days after of a heart attack. Family,
Yeah.
where's the justice of that? I mean, that's 3 lives right there. And the grandmother's still alive, but that's 3 lives that didn't do nothing to nobody. Hey, the little babies. I mean, come on, that right there is an
19
example
babies.
of a soft target. Yes, let's not disengage from the stuff that happened in Buffalo at the grocery store. Those were
Yeah.
regular people. You had grandmothers. You had people buying groceries for their family. A
Mhm.
deacon, a security guard. And yeah, it is a racist issue. So
Yeah, it is.
I didn't understand why the police were waiting for 1 hour, like, and the guy broke into so he just broke into the school and started shooting people. I mean, how the 18-year-old teenager Ramos can break into the school and start shooting, and the police are just like, oh, we thought he was disarmed and we're waiting for backup.
he
The story
shot.
makes no sense to me.
He
Well,
shot
he
it
was
too.
running from the police, and he was like, "They're not gonna take me alone. They're not gonna take me out alone. I'm taking some people with me."
Yeah,
It's
right.
basically his mentality.
Not to mention, I mean, he did buck at 2 of them. They got scared, would call back up, and then now they're all in the hallway, gathered in the hallway, and you got little kids calling 911 multiple times, saying we can hear them in the hall.
Hmm.
Can you please send them in here? Like asking for help. How and they're dead. You know what I mean? Like right there is enough for you to say, what in the hell are we paying the fucking police for if they
Right,
can't protect small innocent babies
right.
and the people that are in charge of taking care of them during the day? Like, what is it? What are we really saying? They ain't worth shit. I mean, we've been saying that, but now this is clear, evident proof that they
They're
were
useless.
scared. They're
Yeah.
scared. They had to let SWAT come in there and handle up because
Mhm.
those guys aren't scared of anything.
Right.
They're
What,
trained
what,
kind of
what,
do attacks on people.
SWAT.
SWAT.
what would make somebody? Do you think this country has a gun control problem? What would make somebody
This
come to a school and start shooting babies? What makes somebody do something like that?
It's unclear yet what his
what
motive
makes
actually
somebody
is.
shoot their grandmother?
He shot the grandmother in the face, though. Let's keep that. He shot her first over his phone and his extensive bill to Germany as he's tricking off money talking to some girl. Okay, so that's just one. And she didn't like that his bill was out of hand because she had to pay for it, whatever. And he shot her in the face. He shot her in the head, and she managed to call the ambulance, and she's still alive. But apparently from the research that the Black Authority did, that family was just a lot of degenerate behavior, and there's not a real clear motive yet of why he did all of that. I like the one in New York where he had a clear manifesto of nonsensical race agenda.
Replacement.
Yeah,
Period.
his race agenda for his cause. He had a clear book of that. This is something deeper and a little bit more suspect, and there's further digging around. Like, there's got to be further digging around, and the fact is that
So Ramos shot his grandmother because of the bill was too high.
In-house effect. When they let Rittenhouse, you remember Rittenhouse up in Milwaukee, not Milwaukee, but Wisconsin, the one that drove across state lines to stop the looters, from the Black Lives Matter protesters from looting the businesses. He made it his duty to go out there and protect the businesses under the guise of, well, that was his guise. His reason for going there was to kill black people, and he ended up taking out 2 white people that were trying to save the black people from getting shot.
I'll
But
say
this
this
is the
too.
Rittenhouse effect.
I'll say this too. My boy in Wisconsin.
Lord. Daryl.
Go ahead. That's you. My boy in Wisconsin. I say that because he's a black dude. Ran through the Christmas parade, running from the police or whatever, and accidentally, allegedly, accidentally killed 8 people. Right, 8 white people.
That's all the way they make it
Okay,
seem like
so
he killed like
eight.
hundreds of people.
Yeah, it's only like 8 or 9 white people that actually died. Right. So now, considering what happened here, right? I don't know how they're going to do the accountability for this kid in Texas. However, the other kid in New York, he better get the same, if not more, time for this crime as the brother in Wisconsin. The
Yeah.
brother in Wisconsin, it was an accident. You know what I mean? It was an accident, and to make it seem like he was a terrorist intentionally trying to kill all those white kids or white people, right?
Yeah, the old white
This
people.
text in New York, black family was an intentional kill of black people. He intentionally killed black people. He walked after he shot a white person by accident. Walked right past him and said he was sorry. Okay, this man was running from a problem that he had with some dysfunctional woman. You know what I mean? And he was running from it, and he was running from her, and the police saw him, and they were chasing him, and he ran. So he accidentally ran through a parade. You know what I mean? They weren't really chasing him, but he ran through a parade, ditched his car, and went to ask for help because he was cold, he just wanted to go home or whatever. This was an accident, but the way they praised they premised it, it was intentional, and he intentionally caused this harm. If anything, there needs to be justice, and if that white boy in New York gets a slap on the motherfucking wrist, then so should he.
This country, America, I don't understand it again.
How I feel about
This
it.
country was founded on guns, and now you got the Trumpsters saying, "Yeah, good luck trying to take my guns away."
Not to mention the dude in there didn't shoot nobody.
People don't need to worry about Russia and Ukraine. There's a war going on right here. There's basically a shooting going on every month. If not
Right.
in Buffalo, New York, it's in Texas,
Yep.
Yep.
or in a grocery store, or in a movie theater.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Well, we started all the mass shootings with Columbine.
Yeah, that's how I was like, man,
Yeah, 1999.
there was a prank here in the city, and I was talking about earlier, and I was like, man, I've lived through most of these mass shooting events here in the city of Colorado. When I heard about it, I was the first one to tell them, right? And the family, the Jesse and Sister Bianca were at the house, and I was like, I'm numb to it, right? I had no feelings initially about this, but I was like, I said that it was. I said, "Oh man!" The first thing came to my mind, man, you guys can't behave. Jesse's running for mayor. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Like, and then I saw the picture. They took a selfie where these little fucking devils were smiling. They're getting arrested. That pissed me off to the max. They shut a whole school down and sent kids home, and had people fearing for their children's lives, feeling that they weren't going to see their kid again. In my house, I had this one shaking, and Sister Bianca crying because they have friends and family that still have children that go to that school.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there looking at like, man, like because I'm affected because I don't have nobody go there, and I just numb. However, I'm looking at this like, oh man, this is very ugly. This is very ugly, and the fact to see that it was quote unquote a prank,
Yeah.
you can't even explain that to me. Secondly, I mean that kid couldn't explain that. He couldn't sell it to me if he wanted to, because he knows what's going on social media. He has parents. That every parent is watching. Every adult with a child is watching the news like a hawk. Every
Mhm.
black person is looking at the grocery store like whether or not they want to go to it. So
Mhm.
There you go. There
reality,
you go.
it is reality. So you can't play ignorance on this. You know what you're doing. So I don't even you couldn't sell that this was a prank and you didn't know and it's ignorant. No, 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 no. I've been in jail enough times to know you can't even get away with that lie. Don't know. And then two,
Mm.
to be able to take a selfie as you're getting arrested with the police with the words, free my nigga, man. Like
Yeah.
No, no, don't free him. Leave him in there for a minute. He needs to get a sense of understanding because he costs taxpayers money. He caused fear in people's hearts. Because what about the kids that were in the school?
Yeah, what about the ones that were hiding in the bathroom?
They're just sitting in trauma. You have to go protest at the Capitol. So you think that's a slap on the wrist? Nah, man, no. You need some understanding. You need to see what you're doing and how much fear it causes. Your little heart and what it would do to your parents if you didn't come back that day.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the parents too. What are you doing? You know, did you let this little motherfucker take a paintball gun to school and then the Black belly? What are you doing letting this little motherfucker hang out with this little motherfucker?
Right.
He's obviously bad. They're all bad. But why aren't you punishing him? Why aren't you more focused on what he's doing? Why aren't you paying attention? Why aren't you writing his helmet?
That goes to show that there's lack of training in these. I don't understand it. You know, you're supposed to like teach your kids, show them the way.
Yeah.
You know,
What happens when kids have kids?
They call it abuse.
that's
when
powerful.
you're on your kid so much.
That's
They
powerful.
don't let your kid have a life. You know what I mean? And I was like that. I was like that with my child. I was really, really, really on my kid. Like I don't think my kid had a moment of peace. And it was because I was so scared because of a life I lived, right? And I was deflecting all that. And they said it was abusive. At this point in time, now that I'm 42 years old, I don't see that as a bad thing considering that I see my child running around. She's like almost 20 years old, running around doing the same madness that they took her away from me for and put her in this white house under these white guidelines, right? My whole kid is a whole different individual. I have to remind her where she really comes from. You know what I mean? What type of parent she really comes from. To only to see her doing the same reckless, pointless shit I was doing. And it makes me feel like you should have just stayed with me. It would have been a lot more entertaining. But now I'm looking at like, what did these people, why haven't they ever been so on top of you? Did they let you go out in the free world to run around with people that are just like worse? They're worse than what the people I grew up with. I grew up with people from the street, from the neighborhood. These are white kids that are activated. They are like culture vultures. They're these millennials that you can't, or Gen X, Gen Zs that you can't talk to because God forbid you start talking to them or questioning them about their shit, whether it's their identity that they're trying to fit in with or they're trying to produce for themselves, whether it be on
I'm happy you mentioned culture vultures. I'm happy you mentioned that.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen it firsthand. You know, they don't know how to behave. That they see the musical, our music culture has been automatically just trashed now. They see that, they see all this interaction that it's okay to go ahead and be disrespectful to your parents, go ahead and rob a store, run in and out of houses, hang out with drug addicts and whatnot. Don't go to school, don't go back to college, just do whatever. They see this as something to be proud of. In reality, this is nothing to be proud of from a person like my standpoint. This is the life I lived. It is nothing to be excited about. I can never get a job again. I mean, I get a house.
It's just like when black men go to prison and come out of prison like it's a badge of honor. There's nothing to be proud of that.
Right.
You know, if you're going there because you were in a gang activity or criminal activity, now he's a man. No, you cannot provide for your family. You can't get a job that you want.
Relating to a kid I haven't raised in a long time because they took her when she was 7 because they said I was a monster because I was really about, like I said, I'll spank other people's kid, and I was really like about that with my own kid because I grew up in a house where corporal punishment was the way to be. And I don't feel like that was a bad thing now that I look back at it, considering where I came from, how I grew up. However, I didn't know at the time that was abusive. And so I was just madly disciplining my child because I wanted her to grow up with the understanding that it's a cold world and that you're a girl I have a girl that's gay. Okay. And I could have put her in a dress if I wanted to, and she would, she'd say no. I'm a lady. I wear dresses all day long. So she was just like the son I guess I always wanted. However, she was a girl, and a very pretty little girl that happened to look like my mother, white. Okay, nothing like me, red hair, green eyes. Okay, nothing like me. Um, and so I didn't want her to be violated like I was, because I grew up in the system. I grew up in the street. So I didn't want men to violate her. I didn't want girls to punk her. I didn't want anybody to think that because you have a pretty little face that you're naive, or that you could be walked over or whatever. So I thought that in my mind that if I disciplined her the way I was disciplining her since she was a little baby, I was just on her, like that she would be able to protect herself and take care of herself. And in doing that, that the court deems you a monster. And when they took her, I stayed away from children almost up until like 2 years ago. And that was a long time. She's 20 years old now. She'll be 20 in 6 days. So they took her, she was 7. Can you imagine how long I've stayed away from children?
Wow.
With you for a long time, thinking that what at the time when you're doing something right. And if she probably would have stayed with me, she probably would not be doing half of the reckless things I see her doing. Or my eldest son would probably not be so flamboyant with himself as he is now, and would have had a little bit
What do you mean
more.
flamboyant? What that mean?
I have an older son too. I have an older son that's also gay. I have 3.
Oh,
I have the oldest one and the youngest one are gay, and the oldest one is very prissy, for lack of better words, and is doing things I felt like that is just to get a reaction from me in the negative way, so he could have something to stand on. And he is getting the reaction because he didn't warn me ahead of time, so I'm shocked because I look at my eldest son is like the male mirror version of me. He has my hair, he has my overall face, and starting to look like his father a little bit. But I look at him, I'm like, God, man, look what you done. Thankfully, you made my hair look pretty. But Jesus, what are you doing? And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, in my house where I was raised with my brother, my brother was accused of being homosexual. So he wasn't. He was never was. He's just secretive, and he just likes to keep to himself. He's a Pisces, okay? But he was never like that.
yeah.
We would have got beat endlessly for that, let alone the disrespect, right, to our parents. That was just a major no-no. That was something that I'm a product of the 80s, that people who were gay, lesbian, dressed up, they kept that, they were quiet about it, and it wasn't in your face as much as it is now. And so I grew up in the sense where everybody was either closeted or they only had their social circles where people do, and it's not unusual, especially in my family, because of my mother. My mother is she's lesbian. So I don't know. It skipped me and my brother, and it hit the generation of the children I had, which was the eldest and the youngest. And my middle son, he's gonna have a wife and children. That's his thing. But my problem is that with my son, everything that my son hated about me, the eccentric thing about me, I'm always eclectic with my looks, whatever. He hated that. He hated my freedom, my free spiritedness, the fact that I was just very outspoken. He hated that I was very super metaphysical. I'm one with the universe. You know what I mean? Then my vibration
Oh,
was high, and I could divide
oh,
and have specific divination skill sets, right? Of any modality. I can practice any modality from the Ifa to
wow.
palm, and so that's a big thing. I'm a natural projectionist,
So
but
you're familiar with Orisha?
yes, those things were offensive to my son, and now he does everything that he's found ugly about. and still won't talk to me. So he is very, very adamant about how he won't speak to me, he won't open the door for me, he won't see me. And it doesn't really bother me, but it does when you're sick and you want to spend time with your child, the one you thought was just gonna be the only one, And instead, my little girl or my daughter, I spend more time with my daughter now because she's grown and she could leave the house. They adopted her, they took my name off of her paperwork. They basically erased me and would call my father's house and say, has she died yet? You see what I'm saying? And so I spend time now with my child and I watch her, we talk, and it's almost like I'm her friend instead of her mother. And I have to remind her that I'm her mother and that I don't play. I don't play. You can still get
Yeah, yeah,
up. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
behave yourself because you will not come in this house, in my house, disrespecting not only myself, but she's disrespectful to my baby brother who lives with me. He is my baby brother, whether he's my half brother or not. It's the only baby brother I ever had. He's the only brother I was raised.
yeah,
I saw him come into the world. So you were gonna you even if you don't know him, she don't know him. I make her say hello to him and goodbye to him, and I make her when she opens it, he opens the door for her to speak to him, because even if he don't want to speak to her because he thinks she's a brat, it's just she needs the manners. She needs to respect him, because at the end of the day, he's still her elder and he's still my brother. And I just don't tolerate that. I don't tolerate when she calls on the phone if my brother answered and she said, let me speak to her. No, that's not how you call people. You say, hello, is so and so home? May I please speak with them? Thank you, I'll wait. Okay, they're not home. May I leave a message? Okay, great. Let me leave a message. Tell them I called. Thank you. Peace. Hang up the phone. Manners. They don't,
absolutely.
you know what I mean?
Some people, I'll say this and then I'll let Brother Jesse close out. As you were talking, the popular expression Sankofa came to mind, to
Oh,
go
yeah.
back and get what you've learned in the past. And I feel like today's present human beings need to do that. We've lost the meaning of how to be a human being. We've lost the meaning of how to have healthy relationships, you know. So it's, you know, the fact that the young ones or the young generation are being raised by TVs and people who have no best interest for them, we need to go back and do Sankofa, to go back
Yep.
and relearn what we lost in the past. You know,
Sure.
so
Yep. We only got two more real quick small topics, and I'm gonna just breeze through 'em. We're not gonna show the video. I'm just gonna tell you about it. We had a
okay.
Tuesday. Listen, family, we are the unhoused neighbors are under siege. They are at war. Let me explain. There is it. It seemed on Tuesday there was three sweeps going on at the same time. So poor little, I want to say, mutual aid Monday. Virian was running to all three sweeps to feed the unhoused neighbors during their sweeps. She was running between all three of them. We happened to see John Stoughton on probably his last sweep with us anyway. We happened to see him. We were grateful to see him. We watched our boy, um, our cousin over there, get his tent crushed, and we do have footage on this on Frontline Black News, so you can go back and check that out. Where me and Jesse were sitting there talking. We also yelled at the mayor deputy, the deputy mayor deputy mayor, in regards to Dwayne Peterson and the unhoused neighbors. We also threatened the police and and we threatened the environmental hazard people, the ones that are on contract. Basically say we won't be going on next year. We pray that Jesse gets in the office. That contract needs to end. They are reckless. The man who was driving the forklift, he was just hauling ass throughout the little encampments. They have no regard for people's property. They'll help you. Hey, let I say they'll help you. That means they're gonna pick up your tent for you with the sticks and everything, and just throw it in the trash. They don't care. We have plenty of footage over this. Um, so the sweeps continue to happen. What I find is that we are at war with our unhoused neighbors in the city. They do three at a time so that not everybody can be there to advocate for our unhoused neighbors. We happen to be in the east side or in Five Points when this happened. So we were there to advocate for them. And we're yeah, of course we're gonna be yelling and acting crazy. That's what we do, because it's racist, and it's definitely the unhoused situation is a humanitarian issue. So everybody that was at this camp for the minus maybe two people were black. No, three people minus three people were black. So that should say a lot that they have no regard for people or their property. And in regard to property, family, what you see getting tossed away in the trash is belongs to the people that live in apartments. They don't want their couch, they don't want their chair, they don't want their table, they don't want their clothes. So what do? They throw them in the dumpster. So the homeless people don't want it. They shouldn't have to sit on fucking the floor or the ground either. Just like you go in your house, you sit on your couch, you sit on the bed, you sit somewhere, right? So they shouldn't have to sit like that. They shouldn't have to live like that. So if they repurpose your thrown out furniture and your clothes and your shoes that you throw out, and you have the audacity to get angry with them and say that they're just cluttering up the sidewalks, that's your shit you threw in the alley, fucker. You're responsible for that. It's your fault. Keep your furniture. Turn it into Goodwill. Do something else. Don't put it in the alley because they want a place to sit. It is their right. They are human beings. They should not be sitting on the ground on rocks in the hot ass sun. They should be able to put clothes on they find and wash in the sink somewhere because they don't have anything to wear. Put shoes on their feet or a coat on their back. So the audacity of you, shame on you fucking people for doing that and having the audacity to get mad. Who cares? You got mad? What do you get mad for? We should be mad. You're just wasteful.
There you go.
That's what it is. And go ahead, just close this out. Go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, that sweep happened. There was a whole bunch of sweeps last week. The sweeps continue. So the only way that's going to stop is when we get a new administration for city council and mayor. Um, but yeah, thank y'all for tuning in to episode 11, season 2, episode 11 of the Frontline Black News. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode, so make sure you tune into that. In the meantime, we're going to be celebrating Ancestors Day on June 2nd. We're going to have multiple podcasts and broadcasts streaming around the same time on the same day. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. Also,
it is a marathon, not a it's a marathon.
Sprint.
Yeah, not a sprint. But we're gonna be if you get Black Family, if you guys get an invite from Shabaka said Corey or any one of us, please jump on our Ancestor Day marathon. There are small caveats, which we are Jesse is running for mayor, and we are raising money for his campaign and Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced. So there are small little caveats that you have to mention no matter what. But it's something we all can deal with, and it is a Black community broadcast event, all Black, all the time, the whole day marathon, day and night, 24 hours. So pick your block of time, tell your people, join us. We would love to be able to collaborate with everybody. We've sent invites already so far to people that we know, like Allah Radio and a few others, to go ahead and get on this blog talk, YouTube, Facebook, podcasting marathon. And it is to drum up business viewers, everything for every single person, as well as celebrate our ancestors, us being Black, everything that goes along with it, and everything the ancestors fought before to have for us now, and that we fight to continue for the next generations. So please join us, Zaki, on any of them, on anything we got. So we're gonna be running all day, so you can pop in and out.
And I would say I like the way you guys are wearing the African adornments. You're wearing the dashiki and the beads. So keep it up.
Yeah, I'm eclectic. I got all kinds of
I can see that. Thank you so much, everyone.
stuff
One
on
love.
Yeah, so make sure you check us out. Frontlinecampaign.org is the campaign website. Make sure y'all donate to that. Make sure you like and subscribe. Don't just watch the videos. Like and subscribe to the videos. And make sure you check us out on Tuesday for Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced, which I'm the co-host of. And check out the Revolutionary Agenda whenever Lady Che decides to
I've been
go.
doing a lot lately, so I've been getting on my grind, so it'll be a lot more frequent, especially with the Dwayne Peterson activity. We were heavily exposing the corruption and the shaming and everything that's involved. So we're gonna reach out and write a few people, and I personally don't mind making a video to the mayor. I mean, when the first message to the mayor came out, I think I had the realest message ever. It was so angry, it was borderline menacing.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're probably gonna come and knock on my door, and I'm just gonna go to sleep and let them knock.
Well, yeah, so this has been season 2, episode 11. Thank you for checking us out. Shout out to our guests. Thank you, Dwayne Peterson, for coming on. Shout out to Key. And we'll be back next week. Peace, love, light, and Black empowerment.
Stay dangerous.
Stay black, stay dangerous.
Yeah.
Stand ready for the revolution.
Yep.
One love.